The cold bit into Jake Morrison's bones as he opened his eyes. Ice crystals fell from his eyelashes as he blinked in the dim blue light. His body felt heavy and slow, like he was moving through thick water. The cryogenic pod hissed as it opened fully, and warm air rushed over his frozen skin. "Captain Morrison, you are awake," said a soft female voice. "Welcome back to the living." Jake tried to speak but only managed a rough cough. His throat felt like sand. He looked around the small chamber and saw frost covering every surface. The walls were metal, painted white, but now they looked gray and old. "How long?" he whispered. 412 years, 7 months, and 16 days, Captain," the voice replied. "I am Lisa Hayes, your ship's computer. I have been waiting for you to wake up." Jake's heart stopped for a moment. 400 years. Everyone he knew was dead. His wife, his children, his parents, all gone to dust while he slept in this frozen. "Box? The ship?" he asked. "The UES Titan's Fury is functional, Captain. We are buried under 2 miles of ice on Europa. Our hiding place worked perfectly. No one has found us." Jake pulled himself out of the pod and nearly fell. His legs were weak from the long sleep. He grabbed the wall and waited for his strength to return. The ship felt different. It was too quiet. Where were the sounds of 50,000 crew members going about their daily work? The crew? Still sleeping, Captain. Only essential personnel are being awakened. The ship's systems detected something that requires your immediate attention. Jake found his uniform hanging on a hook nearby. It was wrinkled but clean. As he dressed, he tried to remember why they had come to Europa in the first place. The memories came back slowly, like puzzle pieces falling into place. The war had been going badly. Earth's colonies were falling one by one to the Zephyrian Empire. The aliens were stronger, faster, and had better weapons. Humanity was losing, and everyone knew it. The Titan's Fury was their last hope. The biggest warship ever built, carrying humanity's best soldiers and their most advanced technology. But they had arrived too late. Earth was already burning when they got the final transmission. The plan was simple: hide, wait, and hope that someday they would have a chance to fight back. "Show me what you found," Jake said as he walked toward the door. The corridors of the Titan's Fury were dark and empty. Emergency lights cast long shadows on the walls. Jake's footsteps echoed in. The silence. The ship was massive, more like a flying city than a warship. It had neighborhoods, parks, schools, and everything needed to keep 50,000 people alive for years. But now it felt like a tomb. The communications array picked up signals from across the galaxy, Lisa explained as they walked. The Zephyrian Empire has spread to every corner of known space. They rule over 300 worlds now. And humans? Scattered, enslaved. There are maybe a few million left, spread across 20 or 30 worlds. They work in mines and factories for their alien masters. Jake felt anger burning in his chest. While he slept, his people had suffered. Children had been born into slavery who had never seen a free human being. They reached the bridge, and Jake sat in the captain's chair. It felt familiar, like coming home after a long trip. The main screen flickered to life, showing a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked Zephyrian worlds. There were so many of them. "They think we're all dead," Jake said. "Yes, Captain. The official records show that humanity was completely destroyed 400 years ago. We are ghosts." Jake smiled for the first time since waking up. Being dead had its advantages. "Wake up the senior staff," he ordered. "Sam Carter, Alex Thompson, Beth Rogers, and the others. We have work to do." "Captain, there is something else. The ship's weapons and engines are more advanced than when we went to sleep. The automated systems have been improving our technology for 4 centuries. We are no longer just hiding. We are ready to fight." Jake looked at his hands. They were steady now and strong. The weakness from the long sleep was fading. He thought about his wife Sarah and his son Tommy. They had died believing that humanity was finished, but they were wrong. How long to bring the ship to full power? 72 hours, Captain. The ice around us will melt as our engines warm. Up, the Zephyrians will detect our energy signature once we break free. Good, Jake said. Let them know we're alive. It's time they remembered why they used to fear us. Over the next 3 days, the Titan's fury came alive. Jake watched his senior staff work with the same dedication they had shown 400 years ago. Sam Carter, the chief engineer, brought the massive engines online. Alex Thompson, the science officer, ran tests on their new weapons. Beth Rogers, the stealth specialist, prepared their cloaking systems. The ship groaned and shook as it broke free from the ice. Alarms sounded throughout the galaxy as alien sensors detected the massive energy burst. Jake stood on the bridge and watched Europa fall away beneath them. Captain, Lisa announced, we are free. What are your orders? Jake looked at the star map showing all those red dots. All those worlds where his people lived as slaves. His jaw tightened with determination. Set course for the Kepler system, he said. There's a Zephyrian supply depot there. It's time to remind the galaxy that humanity is not as dead as they think. The U-East Titan's fury turned toward the stars, carrying the hopes and dreams of a species that refused to die. Admiral Kethver stared at the report on his desk. His 4 eyes blinked slowly as he read the words again. The Zephyrian commander was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like stone. His race had ruled the galaxy for 400 years. And nothing surprised him anymore, but this did. 3 patrol fleets? He asked his aide. All of them? Yes, Admiral. They went to investigate the energy burst near Europa. None of them came back. No distress calls, no wreckage. They just disappeared. Kethver threw the report across his office. It hit the wall and scattered on the floor. Impossible. What could destroy 3 fleets without a trace? The energy readings were massive, sir. Bigger than anything we have seen before. Run a deep scan of that area. Send the 4th battle group to investigate. And this time, I want constant communication. With our ships. Meanwhile, Jake Morrison stood in the war room of the Titan's fury. Around him, his senior officers studied holographic displays showing the 3 Zephyrian fleets they had just destroyed. The alien ships floated dead in space, their crews unconscious but alive. The sleep gas worked perfectly, reported Dr. Alex Thompson. Their ships are intact, and we can study their technology. Good, Jake said. Sam, what did you learn from their engines? Sam Carter, the chief engineer, smiled. Their power systems are strong but simple. We can improve our weapons to cut through their shields like paper. Beth Rogers, the stealth operations commander, stepped forward. Captain, we captured over 3,000 aliens. What do we do with them? Jake had been thinking about this. The old human way would have been to execute prisoners of war. But he had a better idea. We let them go, he said. His officers looked surprised. Beth frowned. Captain, they will warn their commanders about us. That's exactly what I want, Jake replied. But first we plant something in their minds. Dr. Rachel Kim, the ship's expert on alien biology, had been working on this project. The memory implants are ready. We can make them believe they saw something terrible. Something that will scare their people, Jake nodded. Do it. Make them think they saw a human fleet of 1,000 ships. Make them think we have weapons that can destroy planets. 2 days later, the Zephyrian survivors were found floating in escape pods near a trade station. They were babbling about ghost ships and human monsters. Most people thought they were crazy from being in space too long, but Admiral Kethver listened to their stories carefully. He had ruled the galaxy by being smart, not by ignoring warnings. Humans, he whispered to himself. But that's impossible. We killed them all. The next attack came 3 weeks later. A Zephyrian supply convoy was traveling through the Vega system when it simply vanished. The escort ships reported strange readings, then went silent. When rescue ships arrived, they found the convoy ships empty and drifting. All the supplies were gone, and the crews had disappeared. Commander Beth Rogers smiled as she watched the Titan's Fury's cargo bays fill with Solon Zephyrian supplies. Her stealth teams had done their job perfectly. They had used sleep gas again, then taken everything useful from the alien ships. Where are their crews? Asked Tony Martinez, the pilot who had led the fighter squadrons during the raid. Safe, Beth replied. We dropped them on a mining planet. They're probably walking home right now. Jake was pleased with the results. They had food, fuel, and raw materials. But more importantly, they had information. Danny Walsh, the communications officer, had been listening to alien radio signals for weeks. Captain, the Zephyrians are starting to panic, Danny reported. They're pulling ships back from the outer colonies to protect their core worlds. Perfect, Jake said. What about our people? Any word from the human colonies? Some of them are starting to hope, sir. Word is spreading that humans are fighting back. There have been small uprisings on 3 worlds. This was what Jake had been waiting for. Fear was a powerful weapon, but hope was even stronger. If enslaved humans started to believe they could be free, they would fight for that freedom. The third attack was different. Instead of hitting military targets, Jake ordered his people to strike at a Zephyrian prison planet. 5,000 human slaves worked in the mines there, digging rare metals for their alien masters. Major Amy Foster led the ground assault. Her Marines landed at night, using their advanced armor to move like shadows. The Zephyrian guards never knew what hit them. One moment they were drinking and playing cards. The next they were unconscious on the floor. All humans, this is the Liberation Force, Amy announced over the prison speakers. We are taking you home. The prisoners could not believe it at first. Free humans? Impossible. Humans were weak and defeated. But then they saw the Marines in their advanced armor, moving with confidence and strength that no slave had shown in 400 years. Who are you? Asked an old man with scars covering his arms. We're the crew of the U.S. Titan's Fury, Amy replied. We've been sleeping for 400 years, waiting for our chance to free our people. The rescue took 12 hours. When it was over, 5,000 humans were aboard the Titan's Fury, and the Zephyrian prison was empty. Jake personally welcomed each of them aboard his ship. You're safe now, he told them. And soon, all of our people will be free. But not everyone was ready to believe. Some of the rescued humans had lived as slaves for so long that freedom seemed impossible. They'll come for us, whispered a young woman named Mary. The Zephyrians always come back. Let them come, Jake replied. This time we'll be ready for them. Admiral Kethfer was no longer dismissing the reports. 3 fleets destroyed, supply convoys raided, and now an entire prison planet emptied. The humans were back, and they were more dangerous than ever. Send word to all fleet commanders, he ordered. Humanity has returned from the dead, and they want revenge. The news spread like fire across the galaxy. On the mining world of Coven Prime, a slave named Grak heard the whispers in the tunnels. Humans were fighting back. Humans were winning. For the first time in 400 years, the word freedom was spoken aloud. Grak was not human. His people, the Corvani, were warriors before the Zephyrians came. They had fought bravely but lost. Now they dug rocks from the ground and dreamed of better days. But hearing about the human ghost ship gave them something new to dream about. Is it true? Asked his friend Deck as they worked in the dark tunnels. Are the humans really back? The guards are scared, Grak replied quietly. I can smell their fear. Something has them worried. On 12 different worlds, the same conversation was happening. The Corvani had always respected humans as fellow warriors. If humans could fight back, maybe they could too. The uprising began on Corvan Prime at midnight. Graken 10,000. Other Corvani workers rose against their guards. They had no weapons except their mining tools, but they had something more important. They had hope. The Zephyrian guards were caught completely by surprise. They had ruled through fear for so long that they forgot how dangerous hope could be. Within 6 hours, the Corvani controlled the entire planet. Similar uprisings happened on 11 other worlds. The galaxy was waking up. Admiral Keffer stared at the reports flooding his desk. 12 worlds in rebellion, supply lines cut. His forces spread thin, trying to control the chaos. And somewhere out there, a human ghost ship was making it all worse. "Sir," his aide announced, "the 4th battle group found something." "What?" "Wreckage from the human ship." "And sir, there are bodies." Keffer felt relief flood through him. "Show me." The holographic display showed pieces of human technology floating in space. 3 bodies in human uniforms drifted among the debris. The Admiral studied the scene carefully. "How did they die?" "The ship appears to have suffered a reactor explosion." "These are the only survivors we found." Cuthbert smiled. The ghost ship was not as invincible as he had feared. "Prepare the Grand Fleet. We hunt down what remains of this human ship and finish what we started 400 years ago." But far away, Jake Morrison was smiling too. The fake wreckage had been Dr. Alex Thompson's idea. Old human ship parts, programmed to explode after a few days. 3 volunteers had even agreed to fake their deaths using drugs that slowed their heartbeat to almost nothing. "They took the bait," reported Beth Rogers. "The entire Zephyrian Grand Fleet is moving toward the fake crash site." "Perfect," Jake said. "How long until they realize they've been tricked?" "At least a week, Captain. Maybe longer if we're lucky." Jake turned to the main screen, which showed a peaceful blue and green planet. New Haven was one of the largest human colonies still in existence. 2 million humans lived there, mining crystals for their Zephyrian masters. They had no idea that rescue was coming. The liberation of New Haven took 3 days. Jake's people moved like shadows, taking out guard posts and communication centers. The Zephyrian soldiers never got a chance to call for help. When the prison camps opened, the humans inside could not believe their eyes. Clean, healthy humans in advanced armor were freeing them. Some of the prisoners cried. Others just stared in shock. "My name is Captain Jake Morrison," he announced to the crowd of freed slaves. "We're here to take you home." An old woman pushed through the crowd. Her hair was white and her back was bent from years of hard work. "You're really human?" she asked. "Free humans?" "Yes, ma'am. We're the crew of the East Titan's Fury. We've come to free our people." The woman began to cry. "I never thought I would see this day. My grandmother told me stories about the old days when humans ruled the stars. I thought they were just fairy tales." Jake helped the woman to her feet. "They weren't fairy tales, and we're going to make them real again." But not everyone was happy about the rescues. Dr. Nathan Brown, the ship's biological warfare specialist, had been working on a terrible weapon. He called it the Genesis Protocol. "Captain, we could end this war in a single day," he explained in a private meeting. "I've created a virus that targets alien DNA. It would kill every Zephyrian in the galaxy, but leave humans untouched." Jake stared at the small container in Nathan's hands. Inside was a virus that could commit genocide on a galactic scale. "How many would die?" "All of them, sir. Every Zephyrian, every Vorthan, every alien species that has enslaved our people. We could have our revenge." "And the aliens who helped us?" "The Melody, who have been secretly treating our wounded. The Corvani, who are fighting alongside us." "Nathan!" looked uncomfortable. The virus can be programmed to target specific species. We could protect our allies. Jake took the container and studied it. So much power in such a small thing. With this weapon, humanity could rule the galaxy the way the Zephyrians had. But would they be any better than their former masters? Lock this away, Jake ordered. We don't use genocide as a weapon. But Captain, no, we're better than that. We'll find another way. Nathan left, clearly disappointed. But Jake knew he had made the right choice. Winning the war was important, but keeping their humanity was more important. Meanwhile, the Melody were secretly helping wherever they could. These peaceful aliens had healing powers that could cure diseases and mend broken bones. They had been forced to use their gifts to keep Zephyrian soldiers healthy. Now they were healing human refugees instead. That Dr. Paul Jackson, the Titan's Fury's chief medical officer, worked closely with the Melody healers. Your people are taking a huge risk helping us, he said to Healer Sung. Your people showed us kindness. Once, long ago, Sung replied. Before the Zephyrians came, human traders were fair and honest, we remember. If you're caught helping us, then we die as we choose to live, with honor. Back on the bridge, Jake watched as more reports came in. The fake wreckage had worked perfectly. Admiral Keffer was leading the entire Grand Fleet on a wild chase across empty space. This gave the humans time to rescue more colonies and gather more allies. Captain, Danny Walsh announced, we're receiving messages from human colonies across the galaxy. They want to know if the stories are true. Tell them yes, Jake replied. Tell them that humanity has returned. Tell them to be ready. Lisa Hayes, the ship's AI, processed thousands of communications every hour. Captain, resistance movements are forming on 47 worlds. The aliens are losing control, Jake smiled. This was what he had hoped for. Not just military victory, but the awakening of hope across the galaxy. Humans were remembering who they used to be. Other species were remembering that the Zephyrians could be beaten, but he knew the real fight was still coming. Admiral Keffer would eventually realize he had been tricked. When that happened, the full might of the Zephyrian Empire would come looking for the Titan's fury. Jake was ready for that fight. Admiral Keffer stood on the bridge of his flagship and stared at the empty space around him. For 3 days, his Grand Fleet had searched the area where the human wreckage was found. They had found nothing but old metal and fake bodies. Sir, his communications officer announced, we're receiving reports from across the galaxy. The humans have attacked 17 more colonies while we've been here. Keffer's 4 eyes burned with rage. He had been tricked. The humans had made him look like a fool, and now rebellions were breaking out everywhere. His empire was falling apart while he chased ghosts. Set course for the Kepler Nebula, he ordered. If the humans want to fight, we'll give them one they'll never forget. The Kepler Nebula was a massive cloud of gas and dust that blocked most sensors. It was the perfect place for an ambush. Keffer knew the humans would come there eventually. It was the best hiding spot in this part of the galaxy. Jake Morrison had been thinking the same thing. The Titan's fury moved slowly through the colorful clouds of the nebula, preparing for the battle he knew was coming. 10,000 Zephyrian warships were hunting them, and there was nowhere left to run. All departments report ready, Captain, announced Sam Carter from the engine room. The adaptive armor system is online, Jake nodded. The armor was one of their newest weapons. It could change its structure to block different types of energy blasts. Julia Roberts, the engineer who designed it, had worked for months to get it. Perfect. Fighter squadrons ready for launch, reported Tony Martinez. We have 200 fighters loaded and armed. Marines are standing by, added Colonel Amy Foster. If they try to board us, we'll be ready. Jake looked at the tactical display. The Zephyrian fleet was huge, but they were spread out across the nebula looking for the human ship. That gave the Titan's fury an advantage. They could pick off enemy ships one at a time. "Beth, take us to silent running," Jake ordered. "Let's disappear." Commander Beth Rogers activated the stealth systems. The massive supercarrier became almost invisible, hidden by both technology and the thick gases of the nebula. They moved like a shark through dark water, hunting. The first Zephyrian ship they found was a heavy cruiser searching alone. It never saw the attack coming. The Titan's fury appeared out of the gas clouds like a monster from a nightmare. Its weapons tore through the alien ship's shields in seconds. "Target destroyed," reported Kevin Price from the weapons station. "No survivors." "Good," Jake said. "Find the next one." For 6 hours, the Titan's fury hunted through the nebula. They destroyed 12 Zephyrian ships without taking a single hit in return. But Jake knew this couldn't last forever. Eventually, the enemy would figure out what was happening and group together. That moment came when Admiral Keffer realized his ships were disappearing one by one. "All vessels, form up on my position," he ordered. "Stop searching alone. We stay together from now on." The Grand Fleet gathered into one massive formation. 10,000 ships moving together through the nebula like a steel wall. When they found the human ship, they would crush it with pure numbers. Jake watched the enemy fleet approach on his sensors. It was the largest collection of warships he had ever seen. The Titan's fury was powerful, but it was still just one ship against 10,000. "Captain," Lisa Hayes announced, "I'm detecting boarding pods launching from the enemy fleet. They're trying to surround us." "Let them come," Jake replied. "Amy, your Marines ready?" "Born ready, Captain," Amy Foster answered with a grin. The battle began when the two fleets spotted each other across the nebula. The Zephyrian ships opened fire first, sending thousands of energy beams through the gas clouds. But the Titan's fury's adaptive armor absorbed most of the damage, changing its structure to block each type of weapon. Jake's ship fought back with everything it had. The main guns fired massive energy blasts that could destroy a cruiser with one shot. The fighter squadrons, led by Rick Turner, flew impossible maneuvers through the nebula, using the gas clouds to hide from enemy sensors. "Direct hit on their flagship," Kevin Price reported. "But their shields are holding. Keep firing," Jake ordered. "Wear them down." The space battle raged for hours. The Titan's fury moved through the enemy fleet like a living thing, its weapons adapting to each new threat. The ship's computer systems learned from every exchange, making the guns more accurate and the shields stronger. But the Zephyrians had numbers on their side. For every ship they lost, there were 10 more to take its place. Slowly, the human ship began to take damage. "Hull breach on deck 12, Sam Carter announced. "We're losing atmosphere." "Seal it off," Jake replied. "How are our weapons?" "Main guns at 60% power. We're running low on energy." That's when the boarding began. Hundreds of Zephyrian assault pods crashed into the Titan's fury's hull. Alien soldiers poured through the holes, ready to capture the ship from the inside. They had no idea what they were walking into. Sergeant Greg Davis led the defense of the lower decks. His Marines knew every corridor, every room, every hiding spot on the ship. They turned the Titan's fury into a maze of death for the invading aliens. "Gravity generator room secured," Greg reported over the radio. "The aliens learned real quick that up and down are just suggestions on this ship." Amy Foster commanded the overall defense. "Use the life support systems against them," she ordered. "Pump sleeping gas into sections 7 through 12. The human Marines fought with creativity that the aliens couldn't match. They used artificial gravity as a weapon, making rooms spin or flip upside down. They pumped different gases through the air systems, making some areas too hot to breathe and others too cold to move. Mary Johnson, working from the communications center, coordinated the defense. "Enemy boarding party in Section 4 is trapped." We've locked all the doors and turned off the lights. Beautiful, Amy replied. Let them sit in the dark and think about their life choices. The boarding battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, most of the Zephyrian soldiers were either dead or captured. The few who escaped back to their ships told stories that would give their comrades nightmares, but the space battle was still raging. The Titan's fury had destroyed over 1,000 enemy ships, but there were still thousands more. Jake knew they couldn't keep this up much longer. That's when he made a decision that would change everything. Kevin, target their flagship with everything we have. All power to forward weapons. Sir, that will drain our shields completely. We'll be defenseless. Do it. The Titan's Fury's main guns charged with every bit of power the ship could produce. The massive energy blast lit up the entire nebula as it tore through space toward Admiral Kethver's flagship. The shot punched through the Zephyrian ship's shields like they were made of paper. Admiral Kethver watched his command bridge explode around him. The human weapon had torn through his flagship like it was made of paper. Sparks flew from broken computers, and alarms screamed warnings that no one could hear anymore. He tried to stand but fell back down. His legs were broken, and green blood ran down his face. Around him, his officers were dead or dying. 400 years of Zephyrian rule was ending in fire and pain. All ships, he whispered into his communication device. Retreat. The humans have won. But most of his fleet could not hear him. The flagship's communication system was destroyed. Ship after ship continued to fight, not knowing their commander was defeated. Jake Morrison watched the enemy flagship burn on his main screen. The massive Zephyrian ship was breaking apart, pieces of metal spinning away into the nebula's colorful clouds. Their command ship is down, Kevin Price reported. The enemy fleet is confused. Some ships are retreating, others are still fighting. Send a message to all Zephyrian ships, Jake ordered. Tell them their admiral is dead and their empire is finished. Any ship that surrenders will be spared. Danny Walsh sent the message across all communication channels. Within an hour, most of the enemy fleet had stopped fighting. Thousands of Zephyrian ships just floated in space, their crews too shot to continue the battle. Jake felt tired. The fight was over, but he knew the real work was just beginning. Lisa, send word to all human colonies. Tell them we've won. Tell them they're free. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. On mining worlds and factory planets, human slaves heard the impossible news. The Zephyrian Grand Fleet was destroyed. The Empire was falling. They were free. On New Haven, the 2 million humans Jake had rescued celebrated in the streets. Children who had never seen a free human before danced with joy. Old people who remembered stories of better times cried tears of happiness. Grak, the Corvani warrior who had started the uprising on his world, received the news while fighting. Zephyrian guards in the capital city. He roared with triumph and his warriors fought even harder. By the end of the day, Corvin Prime was completely free. Across the galaxy, 47 worlds rose in rebellion. The Zephyrian Empire, built on fear and control, crumbled as that fear turned to hope. But Jake had bigger plans than just winning. The war. He called a meeting of all his senior officers in the main conference room. We've won the battle, he told them. But now we have to win the peace. There are billions of people out there who need our help. Dr. Christine Miller, the ship's terraforming specialist, stood up. Captain, many of the worlds the Zephyrians occupied are damaged. The soil is poisoned. The water is bad. We can fix that. How long? Jake asked. With the Genesis Protocol, we can clean up a planet in months instead of years. But we'll use it to heal, not to kill. Jake smiled. Dr. Nathan Brown's terrible weapon had found a better purpose. Instead of destroying alien life, It would restore damaged ecosystems and make dead worlds green again. Dr. Paul Jackson raised his hand. We're going to need a lot of medical supplies. There are millions of people who have been sick and hungry for generations. We'll get what we need, Jake promised. The Zephyrians had warehouses full of medicine and food. Now it belongs to the people who need it. Mary Johnson, who had been working with alien resistance groups, had good news. Captain, the Melody. Healers want to help. They're offering to teach human doctors their healing techniques. And the Corvani want to join our military, added Amy Foster. They're natural warriors, and they hate the Zephyrians as much as we do. Jake nodded. This was what he had hoped for. Not just a human empire, but an alliance of free species working together. Over the next 6 months, the Titan's Fury became the center of a new government. Jake was promoted to Fleet Admiral by the surviving human leaders, but he didn't want to rule alone. He created a council with representatives from every free species. Grak became the Corvani representative. Healer Selm spoke for the Melody. Even some former Zephyrians, who had grown tired of their empire's cruelty, joined the alliance. We call it the new Terran Federation, Jake announced at the first council meeting. Terra for Earth, humanities. Lost home, but this federation will be different. Every species will have a voice. The Titan's Fury traveled from world to world, bringing aid and hope. Christine Miller's teams cleaned poisoned environments. Paul Jackson's doctors treated the sick. Sam Carter's engineers built new cities and factories. But the ship's most important cargo was something that couldn't be measured. The knowledge that freedom was possible. On a small farming world called Green Valley, Jake watched human children play with young Corvani and Melody. They laughed together, not caring that they looked different or came from different planets. This is what we fought for, he said to Beth Rogers, who stood beside him. The war? No, this moment. These children will grow up free. They'll never know what it feels like to be slaves. Beth smiled. What's next, Admiral? Jake pointed to the stars visible through the ship's windows. There are other galaxies out there. Other species that might need our help. But first, we rebuild. We make this galaxy a place where everyone can be free. Years passed. The new Terran Federation grew stronger. Ships began construction of a new fleet, but these weren't just warships. They were exploration vessels, hospital ships, and colony builders. The Titan's Fury remained the flagship, but it was no longer alone. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species flew under the Federation flag. Jake, now older but still strong, stood on his bridge and watched the construction of humanity's new homeworld. They called it New Earth, and it was more beautiful than the original. Humans, Corvani, Melody, and even reformed Zephyrians worked together to build cities that reached toward the sky. Admiral, Lisa Hayes announced, we're receiving a signal from deep space. It appears to be a distress call from an unknown species. Jake smiled. Set course to investigate. It sounds like someone needs our help. The Titan's Fury turned toward the stars once again. Humanity had risen from the grave, won their freedom, and built a better galaxy. But their greatest adventures were still ahead of them. In the depths of space, automated factories continued building new ships. The galaxy was free, but the universe was vast. And wherever there was suffering, wherever there was injustice, the new Terran Federation would be there to help. Humanity had returned to the stars. This time, they brought hope with them.